I'm Herb C. I'm here at the Smart City Tech Summit being held in Plexpot here in Kansas City, Missouri. And with me is Patrick Woods. I'm excited to be able to talk to Patrick Woods prior to him going on stage. Patrick, just really quickly, tell me a little bit about yourself and why did we invite you here?
Sure. So I've been in public safety in one form or another for many years. Been in public safety technology in particular for over 10. And my focus at the Highway Patrol is I'm the Chief Information Security Officer, which recently in an organizational change also includes all of IT infrastructure on our responsibility as well as cybersecurity. And so, we've been focused since 2012 on really investing in cybersecurity for the Highway Patrol. And today I'm going to talk about some events that occurred back in 2014 that really kind of accelerated the growth and the importance of cybersecurity within the Highway Patrol, and really encourage the attendees to take another look at cybersecurity and see how maybe we can take some of these really complex problems and apply simple solutions to improve cybersecurity across the board.
Gotcha. Well, Patrick, thanks for that. I also know that you work also, I think, nationally in the FBI Cybercrime Taskforce. Is that correct?
Yeah, so I sit on the FBI Security and Access Subcommittee, which that is the regulatory body for criminal justice agencies nationwide. So I'm heading out this week, actually today, to go meet with that committee, and we are going to focus on, we meet twice a year, and we focus on what changes we can make to the regulatory requirements for criminal justice agencies to better protect law enforcement data nationwide. And as a part of that, I chair a cloud computing task force. So we've really been focused on how can we morph the regulatory requirements for law enforcement to make it more cloud friendly, because we do see a lot of law enforcement data going to the cloud.
Gotcha. Well, I know that at Think Big, we see a lot of different things going on in smart cities. We spend a lot of time there. Public safety seems to be one of the things that keeps coming up, because if you're going to have a smart city, you have to have a safe city.
Right.
And given your experience and what you're about to share here momentarily here on stage, I think you're going to talk a little bit about Ferguson. Is that correct?
Yep.
And so in Ferguson, what's interesting to me is before I got to understand the event more, there's this public knowledge of what occurred or what they think that occurred at the face value, but behind the scenes there was so much more that occurred. Is that something that's happening more and more? That maybe the things that are publicly available and then the behind the scenes. And just tell me a little bit of what are we going to hear about here when you go on stage?
Yeah, so we really saw hactivism take a key role in traditional protests and civil disobedience that had traditionally not had a cyber aspect, but we really saw the cyber aspect come to life during the Occupy Wall Street protest in New York. That was kind of the first time that we really got a good view of how hacktivism can play a role in those events of civil unrest. So what we saw in Ferguson, where we saw the anonymous collective kind of come to the aid of the protesters on the street and threaten public safety, threaten to take critical systems offline at a time when, and we saw law enforcement officers have their private information leaked by Anonymous, which obviously takes their mindset off of the incident at hand when they're worried about their credit, when they're worried about their family's safety. And so we really saw that shift. And we've seen that now since Ferguson. We've seen that in Baltimore, and we've seen it in Dallas, and we've seen it in Baton Rouge. We've kind of had this reoccur over and over again with these incidents of civil unrest following a officer-involved shooting or following any type of incident. And so this is something that I think is just a new reality that public safety and law enforcement has to prepare for, is that you're only one controversial incident away from being the subject of a cyber attack. So,
gosh, well, I know that to be able to look at public safety in today's realm, it's an ongoing dynamic threat, ever-changing, morphing. Being able to enlist the help of other cities and lessons learned, or the bad guys enlisting the help of other bad guys that have malevolent intent. I mean, that's tough. If there's one or two takeaways that you'd like to be able to share that the city should be thinking about, or community should be thinking about, what are the one or two takeaways that we should be listening for in your keynote presentation today? Yeah,
so for law enforcement executives, I encourage them to focus on preparing for the cyber attack before it occurs. So in an incident like this where that we saw in Ferguson, law enforcement chiefs and sheriffs and law enforcement executives, they have a lot more important things to be worrying about than the cyber aspect of an incident. Mm-hmm. They've got critical on the street public safety things to deal with. So having some preparedness ahead of time for what are we going to do when the cyber attack occurs can really change things so that the law enforcement executive doesn't have to worry about cyber as much. It is an element to an event, but it shouldn't be the entire focus of the law enforcement executives. And again, there's some really simple things that we can do. Everybody thinks that cybersecurity's got to be expensive and that cybersecurity has to stand in the way of innovation, and that's simply not the case. If we get in on the ground floor and we build some simple solutions into the processes that law enforcement already has, then we can really be successful. And that's one of the benefits of being a CISO for a law enforcement agency is a law enforcement agency is already pre-wired to respond to incidents. That's what they do in their normal practice. And so, executives are kind of already pre-wired to understand what incident response looks like. So it's not as much of a challenge to get over that hump to explain that.
Gotcha. Well, thanks so much for sitting down with us. I know you're going to cover a lot of great things. For more information about what Patrick's working on, you can click on the link located in the article here at the Smart City Tech Summit and on our blogs. And if you need more information on public safety or any other smart city type of technologies, visit the Think Big website. Let us know how we can be of service. But Patrick, thanks so much for your service to the community, both with your company and the Highway Patrol, and thanks for keeping us all safe. Appreciate it.
Thank you.